everybody, and welcome back to the GoTalkTo English podcast. I am your host, Teacher Emily, and today I have another special guest. Way up in British Columbia, Canada, we have Joselyn Bouwers with us today. Joselyn?
Hello, everyone.
So, you are Canadian.
Yes, surprise, surprise.
So all around the world, everyone hears different things about Canada, the people that live there, how great it is. Here in the United States, the general stories that Canada is this awesome, amazing place where nothing bad happens and everyone is super nice.
Well, I wouldn't say nothing bad happens, but we are a pretty safe country.
Yeah, you guys do have what some would consider a lot of radical laws that have been put in place that the United States is still arguing over, those radical laws like gun control, access to,
Free healthcare.
It makes me feel bad.
It's like free healthcare, LGBTQ marriages and all that stuff. Yeah, we've had those for a long time.
Great. So Canada is considered, at least compared to the United States, very progressive. They're very ahead of the game, and they seem to be doing well.
Yeah.
So, now talking to you, let's kind of get past the stereotype. Is it true that Canadians are all super duper nice?
I wouldn't say we're all super duper nice, but we are pretty polite. It's just kind of something that we've gotten used to. We live by the treat others the way you kind of want to be treated kind of aspect. In school, I was taught empathy. Like, that was literally one of the main things that we had to learn. And just treat others the way you want to be treated. And we don't really accept a lot of hatred all that much, and I don't know how to put it.
No, I think that's worded pretty perfectly. Here we know it as the golden rule. Treat others as you want to be treated. Equality, empathy, compassion. Those are very, very important. Now, Canada is also a culturally rich hub of the world. Can you tell us about some of the cultures that are booming there? I know French culture definitely has been there for a long time.
Oh, yes. With the French culture, we have that in Quebec. It's basically stems back to way back when we first settled in North America. The French were here first, and then the English came, and then, well, technically the Vikings came first, but...
It all gets lost in translation.
Like a lot of colonization. And if we go way back, we can assume that the First Nations people were here first, and that's something that we do have to deal with. But when it comes to a bunch of different cultures, depending on where you are in Canada, you'll get a huge multi-diverse society. Where I am, we have a large East Indian community. If you go further out to Vancouver, you'll find there's a lot of the Asian communities, lots of them. And anywhere you go in Canada, you will find people of various backgrounds, ethnicities, and yeah,
awesome.
All pretty inclusive.
No, and that's honestly the most ideal place, especially being an American, a place where it's full of diversity, full of different cultures, where people can just live their own lives peacefully and harmoniously. It's definitely ideal. It still kind of ticks off all those boxes for Canada's the perfect place. But
we're not perfect. But
speaking of, let's kind of wipe some of that sugar coating off. Are there any issues in Canada that you've experienced, or at least you've seen in comparison with other countries, or just internally?
How we treat our First Nations community is, I can't even describe it.
And when you say
horrendous.
The First Nations community, who do you mean?
Well, in Canadian history, we ended up having to create. Sorry, my brain's going dead. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
We ended up having treaties with the First Nations and the Aboriginal people. And pretty much Canada's kind of tortured them and suppressed them, as most people do, colonizers do too.
North America's kind of got a rough start.
We got a really rough start, and we don't treat each other well, and we've kind of, like, it's an ongoing issue. We do have a lot of Native Indigenous women who are literally missing that the Canadian government doesn't really want to deal with. There's a lot of issues going on. I know out east in like the Maritimes, which are those provinces. I really don't want to list them.
It's okay. I apologize. It was kind of a sudden pop quiz.
It's like in the eastern coast we have. I just saw news coverage on it with the Aboriginal people when they're trying to deal with their fisheries. A lot of the communities, there's a lot of fight back, and there have been a lot of
lots of conflicts.
Attacks and stuff. Lots of conflicts, and it's kind of awful.
That is unfortunate to hear, but as most people know, there is good and bad everywhere, wherever you go. So it's just a given. Here, one of the issues we have in the United States recently, a lot of racial and ethnic tensions, racism, racial injustice, that seems to be a very hot button topic today in the U.S. Have you ever experienced any of those prejudices or instances of racism in Canada as being a Eastern Asian person?
Yes.
Oh, not the answer we wanted.
Like, racism happens everywhere. It can be as simple as just making a joke, or it can be as simple as somebody coming up to you and, like, profiling you. Or, for example, my little brother, who at the time was 15, he was walking back from work, and it was late at night. He worked at McDonald's. He's a big kid. And unfortunately, he was wearing his hoodie because it's like 10 o'clock at night and it's cold out. So he's wearing a hoodie over his head, and he's walking home because he didn't have a phone and none of us were picking up. So he's walking home. A cop literally comes up, shoves him onto the ground, and has a taser in his face, and saying he's not telling him why it's happening. And apparently it's an undercover cop who's doing this to my little brother, who is 15, only to find out that the person they were going after was on the other side of town. Mm-hmm. It's awful.
And it's sad because it's kind of a familiar story here in the United States. We hear about that happening all the time.
Yeah.
One of the other comparisons is Canada is renowned for having a low crime rate, a low homicide rate. From, just through your everyday experiences, would you say there's a lot of violence in the news, or a lot of just cold-blooded killing going on, or?
If we're in comparison to the U.S., we have a much smaller population. Like, we have this amazing amount of land, yet we only usually stay down near the border.
It's too cold up there.
It's warm. It's too cold. Oh my goodness, like -50 some places are like norm in winter.
Oh, gosh.
It's cold, and we're not even talking about the wind chill factor.
Oh god, yeah.
No. Basically, we have a pretty low crime rate. Sorry, my dog. After, I think, our really massive school shooting out in Quebec, we kind of cut down on the guns. We're like, okay, obviously there's a problem here, and so we did a program where we bought back guns, and we have strict gun laws. Like, if I wanted to apply for them, I have to do a psychological test. I have to prove what it's for. I can't purchase certain semi-automatics. It's very hard. You have to maintain your license, and you can only go to certain areas, and if you break it, and if you're found with a gun without a license, we don't even have license to carry, pretty much.
Oh,
unless
okay.
you're... There goes my dog.
Oh, you're fine. You're good. So, make you feel as a native Canadian, the idea that you can't go out to a store and purchase a gun to potentially protect yourself from harm's way? Does that make you feel unsafe? Is that something that you have to worry about?
No. Honestly, like, I was in the Air Cadet program and I was exposed to rifles and guns and all of that stuff. Like, I learned how to shoot, but it was never something I was truly interested in. And we tend to not have a lot of crime where I need to have protection. Like, nobody's gonna come out and, like, I walk alone at night, okay?
Very bold. Very brave.
Very bold. There are certain places in my town where I'll walk, but I won't go, you know. Like, we're a pretty peaceful place. Like, I'll go walk at night sometimes. Like, I don't really need a gun or a weapon for protection. And if I do have something, it's probably going to be like a pocket knife or something. We don't need anything excessive.
Enough about the serious stuff. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's talk about Canada. Let's talk about you, the Canadian. So first of all, Canada. When I think of Canada, I think of maple leaves and moose and snow. Is it winter time there all year round?
No. We do have the occasional summer months, even in Nunavut and the Northwest Territories and the Yukon. You'll see snow for most of the time of the year up there, but you do get the spring months, so you'll get summer, and it'll be warm. And in, I believe, the Northwest Territories, all of the territories of Canada, because we have provinces, territories. It's a mess.
We have states, and then we have counties, and then we have the District of Columbia. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Basically, where the whole snow year long is up north, and basically even there they do have spring. You'll have literal flowers bloom. In the north, like, most of the time you'll get like all day, like when it's summer, you'll get like maybe an hour of nighttime at most.
Oh wow.
And then during the winter, it's very hard. It's like the complete opposite.
That's rough. I could not survive in that.
I couldn't either.
Yeah, no wonder that explains why you live where you live.
Pretty.
So, is it true that if you go out in your backyard, you have a high percentage of seeing a moose?
Not where I am, because
Gotcha.
I live pretty much in the suburbs. I'm more likely to see a bear than I am a moose. You'll find that's just where I live. I've seen a moose maybe once in my life, and that was when I was in Alberta.
Ah.
Yeah.
Doesn't count. No.
Doesn't count. You'll find them more along the Canadian Shield, which is like all over there, and like in the provinces, like where we are. If you go a little bit more up north, you could find moose or meese, whatever they're called.
I believe it's moose. I'm not sure. I want to say it's moose.
I don't know either. It's just like moose. They're not mooses, but they're moose.
They're moose. The multiple moose.
The moose.
So I want to say it was 2 years ago, but recently-ish, not even recently, you did travel to the United States. Tell us about your experience. What was it like? Anything shock you?
A lot of things actually did shock me. I ended up traveling to Texas to visit a very good friend. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. The airport itself is just normal. I've traveled around the world. I've been to Europe. I've been Mexico, all those places. But like I went to Texas. I've never been so far south before. For me, like I've been to Washington, which is a state in the United States, and that's pretty similar to where I am in Canada, because it's
not to be confused with Washington D.C. Totally different thing. Totally
very,
different.
very different. I went to Seattle. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I've been to
Grey's Anatomy. It's that Washington.
Yes. I've been there, and like it's pretty much a carbon copy of where I live. Like we're very, very similar. And then I went down to Texas, and I'm like, this is so different. I'm like, I need to be conservative. I cannot tell everybody what I believe in.
Yeah, definitely. The farther south you go, you tend to be more surrounded by those conservative types. We have actually separated our state with an invisible line we call the Bible Belt, which is just those states and those, communities that more heavily steer close to religious standards, typically Christianity, of course, the Bible Belt. So things that are more radical, like the LGBTQ rights, gun restrictions, things like that. Definitely don't want to mention those there.
Oh.
They're working on it. It's a lot of history, a lot of roots, and so past meets progressive. We're getting there.
Yeah. Like in Canada, we call Alberta the Texas of Canada because they tend to have a lot of the same values, and it's a very conservative province. And yeah, it's pretty similar, I found out after.
So with your adventures in Texas, what other weird American norms kind of threw you off guard?
You could buy liquor at just a convenience store.
Yes, you can.
And there were guns in a Walmart that you could pick up. Okay, like when it comes to us,
and they did
we'll find maybe rifles, and those rifles are fake on the shelves because we don't want people stealing them, or they're locked behind glass cupboards. They have it all out for everyone to see, going like, get this, this is the better deal. No, you want this semi-automatic.
Yeah, you gotta reach out and touch the box, to be able to hold it, feel the weight, read it,
I did not expect it. And I'm like, what is this? Oh.
Yeah.
And and the way people looked at me because I was like ethnically diverse, I'm like, okay.
Which definitely in the South, you definitely have to find those communities of diversity because they tend to kind of all gravitate near each other. So yeah, you kind of have to look out and find them, but they're there, typically more in bigger cities, more populous areas, but the smaller towns, like some of the towns we went to, a lot of people that don't look like you.
Yeah, no, it's like, hi, I'm going back to Coaldale. Sorry, Coaldale is where some of my family lives in Alberta, and I'm like, oh, there's one other person like me.
Right, you are of European Indian descent, right?
Yes, my father is Dutch, and my mom was born in India. My grandpa and grandma on my dad's side immigrated to Canada after World War II, and then in the 70s, my mom came over from India. And then.
So you are an Indian, Dutch, Canadian who was raised under, I guess we could say, Christian values?
Technically, yeah, Christian values.
But I love that. I love that because you have so many different things and combinations that you would not normally see. So, it makes me feel better because I am also an oddball, the Filipino, Mexican, African American. Yeah.
Yeah, nah, us ethnically diverse people stick together.
We stay together. We stay tight.
We're halflings.
All right, so one more thing I just have to ask about Canada is what's with the milk in bags? What's with the bagged milk?
Okay.
What's with the bagged milk?
Okay, bagged milk is something that pretty much only happens in Ontario because Ontario is whack, okay?
Okay. Ontario is whack. You heard it here, folks.
Okay. Like, we just get this whole rap that we have bagged milk, and then here's me, I'm like, we have bagged milk? That's the thing?
Where is the bagged milk?
Like, you'll see bagged milk is in, like, actual like fast food restaurants. Like first time I'd seen bagged milk was when I started working at McDonald's, and we put it into the cream and milk dispensing machine. And that's because it's easier to transport and just toss it in. Bagged milk in general, no, we get cartons, or we get like the plastic ones, or like the cardboard ones. Like that's what we have.
Basically
where
normal,
I'm at.
Normal milk.
Yeah, and like my uncle is a dairy farmer, or was a dairy farmer, and it's all I've seen are like the plastic cartons. Terrible for the environment, but whatever. You can reuse, recycle, reduce.
I say we all just go back to glass when the milkman was delivering milk at our doorstep every morning. I feel like the world was simpler when we did that.
Oh yeah, no, you can get glass containers of milk at any of the local produce stores.
So we should reinstate the milkman. Make America milk again. All right, so finishing up with, of course, some of the weird food customs that apparently Ontario does. What are some classic traditional Canadian food staples? What are the foods of Canada?
Okay, it depends on which area where you're at, but the most stereotypical is poutine. Poutine. It's not poutine. That's the butcheredized English way.
It's the American version. Poutine.
It's poutine. It's French fries, gravy, and cheese curds, and honestly,
a lot of carbs.
It is delicious, even though it's so bad for you. Like, I would eat that any day. Where I'm at, we don't have it very often because, again, it doesn't get as cold where I live. But you'll get maple syrup that you pour it onto, like, the snow, and then you'll wrap it and create, like, a little lollipop. That's iconically Canadian. So good. I've had it once. We have beaver tails, which aren't actual beaver tails.
Oh, thank God.
Okay. Beaver tails are basically like a pastry. You add like brown sugar or like any kind of topping you want, and you eat it like it's a donut.
Oh, okay. I could get behind that.
Beaver tails are delicious, and like depending on what you want. Like I've had a Nutella one. There's been brown sugar. Like I've had M&Ms, like crepes, and
oh my,
they're good.
Okay, so we are sleeping on the Canadian cuisine apparently.
Maple syrup. Canada has a monopoly on maple syrup. We supply like 98% of the world's. I don't know. Don't quote me on those numbers.
No
Please
problem.
don't quote me.
No problem.
We supply a majority of the maple syrup in the world, and like.
Do you ever get sick of it? Like just like maple syrup? Is
no.
Gotcha.
Okay, like you can do pretty much anything with maple syrup. Like my brother.
I made chicken with maple syrup the other day, and it was, oh my gosh, so good.
Oh, to get us to eat our vegetables, like we weren't big fans of carrots. My mom would literally put maple syrup on the carrots, and we would eat it like it was candy.
That sounds delicious. Mom, why didn't you do that for me?
So you can use it on that. My brother made maple candied bacon the other day.
Oh gosh, yes, I love maple candied bacon.
So good. Like maple syrup, like, and he was making cookies, and he replaced cornstarch with maple syrup because it's the same consistency, and it worked.
Can you give us your best stereotypical Canadian accent? Can you tell us what that's all about?
How you doing there, mate? That's got quite a connotation you got there. And
wow.
Yeah, I could talk about what's going on there about a boot. But I'm failing at it miserably.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry there, bud. How you doing? Didn't mean to bump into ya, but that's just how it goes. Have a nice day. I can't do.
It almost, it's kind of got like this quiet, like very, this quiet librarian that went to Ireland for a little while, then went to France for a little while, then came back.
Considering our history, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Like we got a lot of different like roots there.
Alright, so I don't mean to embarrass you, but the folks at home would really, really appreciate it if you gave us just a little taste of the Canadian national anthem.
Oh, dear Lord. Okay, let's see. How much do you want me to sing?
The first verse. Or at least until, or wait, we stand on guard for. That's the last sentence, right?
Okay. Let's do this. Let's see if I remember it. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
I feel like a Canadian citizen right now. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Oh, it's been so long. I need to watch a hockey match.
Well, we thank you so much for coming today with this interview. I feel like, as an American, I feel a little bit closer to Canada today. Anyway, thank you again, Joselyn Bouwers, our native Canadian. You can be sure to find us on Instagram at GoTalkTo, or give us a like and a subscribe to our content on Facebook. Once again, be sure to check out our website, GoTalkTo.com, for our many language learning opportunities, and check out our French courses so that way one day you too can visit the native land of Canada.
Oui, oui.
Thank you so much, everyone. See you next time.
Go talk